which makes sense because when you're a teenager, you can eat anything, and you're totally great. You know, you're never been better. You know,
early 20s too. But
yeah.
After that, yeah.
And so, let's talk about what they need. So dogs are carnivores. And they're not omnivores as people.
Yeah.
We force them to be omnivores, which doesn't make them omnivores. And cats are obligate carnivores, which means that they cannot process beta carotene into vitamin A, so they have to eat it as flesh, for lack of a better word, right? And so that is where they both don't deal well with plants, but cats take even less nutrition from plants.
No such thing as a vegan cat.
And we'll talk about that. There is, because people
talk
to me about it, but it's very...
That's cruel.
But I would also say the same thing about dogs in terms of... The only appropriate vegetarian dog is if it eats tons of eggs and raw milk. But most don't.
Yeah.
All right.
So, the first thing you need to know about dogs and cats being carnivores is a lot of people look at their teeth. You know, they don't have the correct teeth. But what I look at is something called the cecum. So the cecum is a part of your digestive system that you have, that Lua has. So it's basically the part of your body that ferments plant food and takes the nutrients out of it and assimilates them. So in an herbivore, it's really, really long. It's almost their entire stomach because they're dealing with plants, right? And in a human, it's about a little below 50% of the size, right? And then in dogs and cats, it's really, really small. So they just do not... I don't know if we want the cat to eat the cookie. I don't know if it will,
not. Hi. No, that's mine. Thanks.
Feed your cat cookies. That's the rest of it.
You know?
That's all you need to know.
Probably.
And so they do not have the physical faculties. They're just not designed to eat meat. They also don't produce the saliva enzyme to start digesting carbohydrates. And so due to their small cecum, they deal well with already made vitamins and minerals. And what I mean by that is, just make sure I don't skip over anything. What I mean by that is they eat animals. So when you eat a liver, that is vitamin A. You don't have to do anything with that. It's directly absorbable. When you eat, when they eat an animal's skin, right, that has all the components they need to perform the metabolic functions to rebuild their body, because it's literally a body that they're eating. Right? Does that make sense? Everything is already made into what it's supposed to be. Okay? And so, due to the fact that dogs evolved doing this, they have very short, highly acidic digestive systems that push stuff out quickly. That's why they're able to deal with high amounts of bacteria. Because of the fact that they actually seek fermentation, which is...
Yeah.
So when you take absorbic acid, which is just the outer layer, it's not nearly as effective. It actually has to draw those other parts from different parts of the body. So in terms of synthetic vitamins, the problem is they process all the food. They process everything they need to out of it, and then they try to add that nutrition back with vitamin mineral supplements. I like to envision the life of your average dog as we take... I mean, this would be best case scenario because most of the ingredients in these pet food companies are very bad. But you take this food that has all these things I'm mentioning in it, and you process it to such a degree, right, that the dog is living, and then hits 3, and then you're like, oh, but his skin is weird, so now we need to add fish oil. And then, oh, but now he's having stomach issues a few years later, so now we need to add a probiotic. And now we need to add a joint supplement. When all this stuff is in food... We just need to not process it out and then try to re-add it in, because the thing is, human beings don't know that much about nutrition. You always have to revert back to Mother Nature, because the more you learn about nutrition, the more the fact is that we just don't know. There's just more and more questions. And so for somebody to say that they have it figured out what a dog needs nutritionally means that they have a perfect understanding of biology and physics and nutrition, and nobody does. So, and that's a paraphrase quote from one of my favorite vets that we work with. I should get the actual quote because it's really good. But and so, when you're looking for food, the thing you want to look for is animal products, and just and I don't usually, I guess, cover this part, but my own personal thing is, before I was doing what I do now, if you're looking at using a pet food company, call them and ask questions. And if you don't get answers, then don't use their... That was not a pun. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
If you don't get answers, no, if you don't get answers, then don't use them, because if they can't answer your questions, then a lot of times actually they won't even call you back. I know this because sometimes I just write questions because I can kind of call them on their stuff, and so they don't write you back. And so that all of this. Oh, I forgot to tell you the worst thing about pet food as well.
Oh dear.
Oh, great. There's more.
The worst thing in terms of, so the number one selling food, well, it goes back and forth between, I think, Purina and Olroy, but Olroy is usually, it's the one they sell at Walmart. It's the number one selling food. So it has an ingredient called meat and bone meal in it, which is unidentified meat.
Right. Yes.
What a lot of people don't know is that there's actually a legal allowable amount of euthanized pets in that food.
Right.
And so the way they test for that, is they actually test for the drug that they use to euthanize the pets, and so that's in the food.
Right.
It's just at a certain level where the FDA is saying it's not going to hurt your dog or cat, which I'm not willing to put my dog through that, obviously. You could, in that case, you could show me science and say it's at a low enough level. I still don't want my dog to eat other dogs and cats. That's just my preference. And so that is a complete and balanced dog food, if that tells you anything, which means nothing.
The bone and meat meal in Old Roy.
In any food, if it's meat and bone meal.
Meat and bone
Can
meal. Can be. Most likely is parts of...
Yeah, so how they do that is rendering facilities. This is a misconception. When people see meal, when they see chicken meal, they think, oh, it's just chicken with the moisture taken out.
Yeah.
That is not true. It's... Hi.
Oh.
It's whatever thing they mention. Imagine cooking chicken down to a powder. Okay?
Really?
Now imagine asserting that powder into dough and cooking it again at really, really high temperatures. So the molecular structure of that protein has changed to such a degree that it's almost unrecognizable by the body.
Right.
That's what even in its best case scenario, that's what meal is, and that's so when companies say, "Oh, it's actually better because when you take the water weight out," well, the thing is, everything in the world is made of water, and we all evolved eating things made of water, so you're supposed to eat things made of water. It's how the body works. So that's something the pet food industry likes to do in terms of doing that. But nutritionally, meal, I wouldn't